Hey guys, it is April from Getting Huggo With It. I bought so many books in September that I'm gonna have to break it down into like part 1 and 2 because I went crazy in September and I got so many amazing deals. I was also sent a couple of books from publishers, which I am eager to tell you about. So I wanted to share part 1 with you. Let's get into it. First book that I wanted to talk to you about is Idaho by Emily Ruskovich. Now, I was kindly sent this from Penguin Random House Canada. Thank you so much for sending this my way. I have been so eager to read this because a lot of British booktubers have been talking about this book over summer, and every time someone reviews it, I just wanted to read it more, honestly. So I'll just read the little blurb on this because it just sounds so good. Anne and Wade have carved out a life for themselves from a rugged landscape in northern Idaho, where they are bound together by more than love. With her husband's memory fading, Anne attempts to piece together the truth of what happened to Wade's first wife, Jenny, and to their daughters. In a story written in exquisite prose and told from multiple perspectives, including Anne, Wade, and Jenny, now in prison, we gradually learn of the mysterious and shocking act that fractured Wade and Jenny's lives, of the love and compassion that brought Anne and Wade together, and of the memories that reverberate through the lives of every character in Idaho. This is meant to be almost like a literary thriller. You desperately need to know what happened between Wade and Jenny, and I've heard only amazing things. I started reading just the first page when I received it, and I was like, yep, I'm gonna love it, just right away, yes. So thank you again to Penguin Random House Canada for sending this my way. The next book that I picked up is The Heart Goes Last by Margaret Atwood. I'm so excited that I found this for like $1 at my library bookstore. This is a kind of dystopian book that only Margaret Atwood can come up with. She's such a crazy, amazing genius. So this is about a couple who are down on their luck. They need to make money fast because they don't know what they're gonna do. They might be out on the street otherwise. And they hear about this project called the Positron Project. I feel like I'm saying that wrong, pronouncing it wrong. But anyway, there's this project where no one in this town is homeless. Everyone is taken care of because they've got this weird system where you live half the time in this civilian home, totally for free, no problem. And then the other half of the time you work in a prison. You work and live in a prison. And for some reason, this seems like a good idea to them. I don't know how. So the way that it works is it's like 1 month you're living in the civilian home. 1 month you go and live in the prison. So in the month that you're living in the prison, there's another couple that's living in the home that you usually live in. And I guess the woman in this couple, Charmaine, starts to fall in love with the man who, how do I explain this? With the man who's been staying in the house on the off times when she's in the prison. I don't know if they send each other little love notes or leave each other messages or how it works, but she starts to fall in love with him. And everything starts to kind of unravel, and she thought that this whole system was going to be really great until things start going really, really wrong, and she feels like this is a trap. Doesn't that sound brilliant? I think my sister read this and really loved it, so I've got high hopes for this one. The Heart Goes Last. Okay, so this next one I don't know too much about. All I know is that it is by Sue Monk Kidd, and this is The Mermaid Chair. And I'll just read you the little blurb on the back. It says, this is a vividly imagined love story between a woman and a monk, a woman and her husband, and ultimately a woman and her own soul. I don't know anything more than that. Just the premise of a woman being in love with a monk sounds really interesting to me. So fingers crossed. Let me know in the comments below if you've read this one and what you thought of it, because I know practically nothing about it. Next, I picked up Behind Her Eyes. Now this has been all over BookTube and Instagram. So this book is about a woman who's like, she's a single mom and she's finally able to like get out of the house for a night. So she goes to this bar and she meets a man and they end up chatting all night and they end up kissing. And the next day she's like starting a new job and she walks into the office and there's the man from the bar and he's her boss. So she's like, crap, how am I going to deal with this? Not only is he her boss, he is married, and she also meets the wife, Adele. And she kind of gets pulled into their little lives. And this marriage is very complicated. There's something wrong with this marriage. And apparently, Louise, our main character, finds out just how far a person might go to protect their marriage's secret. Sounds like so much fun. So yeah, eager for this one. I also picked up Our Souls at Night by Ken Taruf. This is a tiny little book at just around 150 pages long. And this is about two people who have lost their significant others. It's about a woman who's lost her husband, and it's about a man who's lost his wife. And they kind of lean on one another. I believe there's also a kind of romantic element in here, whether they're just trying to keep each other company after the heartbreaking loss of their significant others. I'm not sure, but I am so happy to have this. I actually took this out from the library, oh gosh, about a year ago, and I had so many other things on the go that I couldn't get to it. So when I saw this, I knew that I had to pick it up because I've heard wonderful things. I also picked up Bridget Jones's Diary. Now I have raved about Bridget Jones's Diary before. You probably don't need to hear me go on and on about it again, but I loved this book and I didn't have it on my shelves, which I couldn't believe. Bridget Jones's Diary is kind of a Pride and Prejudice retelling, and our Elizabeth in here is named Bridget and she's hysterical. I love this book. So happy to have this on my shelves again. I also picked up Blackberry Wine by Joanne Harris. Now you probably have heard of Joanne Harris because she wrote Chocolat. And this is another magical realism kind of story. It almost borderlines onto fantasy. This is about Jay McIntosh, and he receives a bottle of wine from a very old friend, and that wine leads him to a doorway into another world. And I don't know too much about it more than that, but it just sounds wonderful. And this cover just completely drew me in. It's like fall in a cover. Can we agree on that? Like, you've got the orangey kind of background and the berries, just feels like fall. So very happy to have this. Okay, so I also picked up Winter Garden by Kristen Hanna. Now, I have read The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, and I was sadly not blown away by it. I enjoyed it, I gave it 3 stars, but there was a heck of a lot of romance in it. Just too much romance for my liking, and I found the romance kind of gross. So I saw this, and I've heard people talk about Winter Garden very positively, so I thought that I would give it a go. This follows 2 sisters who rush to their father's bedside as he is dying, and they've kind of become estranged. They're not incredibly close. They've made very different decisions on how they want to live their lives, and so they're bringing all of that to the bedside of their father. And their mother, Anya, decides to take this opportunity and tell them a very important story, and I believe it's the story of her life before she was their mother. Now, I think this is another World War II or World War I story, so I'm really hoping that I like it more than The Nightingale, so fingers crossed. I also picked up the Marshmallow Test. Now, I don't really pick up these kinds of books that often anymore, even though this was almost exclusively the type of book I used to read. This is a book about mastering self-control. Now, the Marshmallow Test is an actual test that scientists have done with children, where they say, here's a marshmallow, you can have this marshmallow right now, or you can wait a little while and you'll get more marshmallows. And some of the kids grab the marshmallow then, and then others wait it out. And this book is about self-control and the benefits of self-control and what that can actually bring to your life. Apparently, you score higher on the SATs if you have mastered self-control. You have better social skills if you master self-control. And I feel like I could probably use that a little bit. As you can see, I cannot master self-control when it comes to my book buying habits. And I also feel like just in my own personal life, like if I'm stressed out or something, I'm like, right, it's pizza night for sure. And I just don't have the self-control to just stop and like back away from the pantry essentially. So I saw this and it just sounded really fascinating. So hopefully it helps me out. I also picked up Summer Sisters by Judy Blume. I really love Judy Blume, and she started writing adult fiction, which I'm very happy about because I just loved her as a kid. This is about two friends named Victoria, named Vix, and Caitlin, and they have spent their summers at Martha's Vineyard. Years later, you know, Vix is working in New York City, and then Caitlin is getting married on the vineyard, and she asks Vix to be her maid of honor. Vix totally says yes. However, they have kind of been estranged a little bit since their childhood days, and Vix wants to understand what happened during the last shattering summer. I would really love to know what that is as well. So that is Summer Sisters. And then I finally picked up the Joy Luck Club. I have been looking for this for so long, and I finally found it at a used bookstore. This is about four women who immigrate to San Francisco in 1949, and they meet every week, and we find out what happened to them before they immigrated to America. Now, I've watched the movie so long ago, but I know that this will dive much deeper into their storylines, and I'm so excited. This is where I really wanted to start with Amy Tan. I've never read anything by her, even though I have a couple of her books on my shelves. I knew I wanted to start here, and I was just waiting to find this book. So here we go. I'm ready to do it. Now, I also grabbed the Lacuna by Barbara Kingsolver. So in this book, Barbara Kingsolver takes us on an epic journey from the Mexico City of artists Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo to the America of Pearl Harbor, FDR, and J. Edgar Hoover. So this just sounds so interesting, and I love a good historical fiction, and Barbara Kingsolver is meant to be a brilliant writer. So I'm very happy to have this, and I really love this cover. The blue is actually from the book itself. Kind of pops through on the flap. Love that. I grabbed this next one from work, actually. We have a little bookshelf at work where people put books they no longer want to read. And someone left The Snowman by Joe Nesbo. It's actually being turned into a movie. So I want to read the book before I watch the movie, and this just sounds so creepy. A young boy wakes to find his mother missing. Their house is empty, but outside in the garden, he sees his mother's favorite scarf wrapped around the neck of a snowman. As Harry Hole and his team begin the investigation, they discover that an alarming number of wives and mothers have gone missing over the years. When a second woman disappears, it seems that Harry's worst suspicions are confirmed. For the first time in his career, Harry finds himself confronted with a serial killer operating on his home turf. That just sounds like so much fun. And just the concept of a killer leaving little snowmen Why would he do that? Why would he do that? I need to know. So I'm gonna read this probably in the winter, like right before the first snow, like maybe November. Yes? What do you think? Oh, sounds good. I was also so happy to find the Lowland. Now this is a National Book Award finalist. I feel like it did win the National Book Award, but am I losing my mind on that one? This is a kind of family saga about two brothers who were, you know, bound by this tragedy that befalls them. And it's meant to move between the 1960s and present day, from like India to America. And it's a multi-generational book. So it's had so much buzz that when I saw it, I grabbed it for sure. This next one, I feel like everyone and their dog has read, except me. I picked up The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. Now, I'm not sure whether this is about a man or a boy, but either way, this person is afflicted by some sort of mental illness. I want to say autism, but I could be wrong. He knows all the countries of the world and their capitals and every prime number up to 7,057. He relates well to animals, but has no understanding of human emotions. He cannot stand to be touched. Yes, I'm pretty sure that this is autism. And it is about this person, his name is Christopher, and his quest to investigate the suspicious death of a neighborhood dog. I have heard only good things about this book. No one that I know of that has read this book has disliked it. Oh yeah, and we've got a little blurb by Ian McEwan on the front, so it's gotta be good. I also picked up State of Wonder by Ann Patchett. Now, this book was featured in Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. She is friends with Ann Patchett, and they both had the idea for the same book. Now, Elizabeth Gilbert didn't write it, and Ann Patchett did, and this is State of Wonder. This is about a research scientist who is sent to Brazil, and she is sent to Brazil because one of her mentors has gone missing. I don't know too much more about it than that, but I loved Bel Canto very, very much and her writing style, so I was so happy to find this. I also picked up one of my favorite books of all time that I didn't own because I think I lent it out to someone and never got it back. That happens sometimes. And this is Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. Oh, I am so happy to have this. It is a beautiful cover. I love the gold detailing. This is about our main character, Janie Crawford, who lives in a black town in the 30s. And this is actually the first black town that exists. We follow her as she falls in and out of love. And it is one of my favorite books of all time. It's so good. It's so small too. It's less than 200 pages. And I mean, this made me smile and it made me cry and it just made me feel all the feels. So if you haven't read Their Eyes Were Watching God yet, you must. You really must. It's wonderful. Now, finally, I picked up a book that was not on sale. Oh no, it was on sale. I picked up a book that was not used. It's amazing. I got it at Walmart and it was like one of those like 40% off things, and I love Karen Slaughter. And this is her new one, The Good Daughter. This is about a very violent incident that happened to two girls and their actual family. It left their mother dead, and we follow Charlie 28 years later after the incident, and she's trying to do the right thing. She's trying to follow in her father's footsteps and becoming a lawyer herself, and then another crazy act of violence happens in her little small town, and she's drawn into it. I adore Karen Slaughter, so I will be reading this pronto because I just love her so much. So I'm sure it's going to be gory and detailed and just too much information and hard to read sometimes, but that's what I'm signing up for. Very excited. So if you can believe it, that's just part 1. I've got a whole other stack of books that will be part 2. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what you've thought of them. I would love to know, and I will see you very soon for part 2. Bye!